the bot lane.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Sven. Congratulations on your win. You're going against 100 Thieves, a first-place team. What were your thoughts going into today's match?
I didn't have any like special thoughts. It's just like preparation for a team, like always. It's nothing special. Like they're a good team, sure, but every preparation for every match is the same, and it's just one game. So there's nothing like special. Oh wow, it's 100 Thieves, you know. But it's the same every week. Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves, same thing.
Same thing? Both teams?
No, not level of skill, but just preparation is the same amount, you know. So yeah.
Okay, I understand that. I want to ask you a little bit about expectations on you and Mithy to perform on TSM, and a little bit how that compares to when you guys were playing together on G2.
So in G2, we expected to Storm BU, like to win the finals every split. It was just like the same, you know, like if you don't win finals, it's a disappointment in EU. Here, it's like I would like to be the first player with Mithy to win both EU and LCS, but it's not something I expect, you know. What I expect is we make it to playoffs and to Worlds, and we do as good as we can, but I don't expect to win finals. I will try my hardest to win finals, but I make it there, of course. I mean, we have 5th place right now, so. But yeah, there's no goals, you know. There's like what I want. There's goals, but no expectations right now for TSM. But in G2, the goals were to go to Worlds and do well, or MSI. And here it's different, you know.
What are you, Mithy, and TSM doing to make your goal a reality?
Well, I think first thing we have to fix right now is that we're a new team. So we have to fix our communication or start calling who says what, who does what. And I think we had some problems in the first week and a half maybe with drafting. I think we drafted something and we didn't really play towards the draft so well. Like we had draft, we had no plan for how to play early game or how to play mid game, team fights, this kind of stuff. But I think we're improving very rapidly so far. So I think it's going well. I think every week I see significant results. So yeah.
Now it's your 3rd week playing in NA. What has surprised you the most about playing in the scene?
I mean, the ping in solo queue is kind of annoying, but I think so far, I don't do anything here in NA. I just sit in my house all day and play League, so there's not really much difference from here in Berlin, right? So yeah, I mean, solo queue is different. There's a lot of streamers in NA, a lot of like one tricks, and so it's different solo queue, but overall it's the same thing as EU, I think.
Well, I'm hoping that you could take your victory day and maybe go hit the beach, hit the pier, enjoy yourself. Thank you so much for the interview, Sven. Let's hear from our friends at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Avali. Great to hear from Sven there as TSM moves to 3-3, but for them, it's all about that incremental improvement, not getting hung up on expectations. They might still have expectations or goals for the season, but not necessarily letting them dictate or drive them week by week.
And in some sense, it's their first quality win, where this is like a pretty likely playoff-level opponent, and they're able to win in a pretty convincing fashion, whereas the Golden Guardians and Optic wins were a little slower pace, and you don't necessarily think those guys will be there.
Yeah, but Jad, I want to key into something that Freak was kind of talking about, where this win in particular felt like, you know, following a draft phase, identifiable win conditions for both teams due to the draft, rather, due to what champions were picked and which teams would play to those better.
And I do actually think it was a bit of a strange game in the way that it played out, because if you look at where 100 Thieves win conditions are, they're heavily kind of around the Vladimir getting a snowball. That matchup globally this year has been plus 27 CSD for Vladimir at 15. This game, it was 0. Hanser matched it. So 27 better than expectations.
Yeah.
So they no longer have the winning top lane. And then the bottom lane for TSM is where they wanted to play.
Yeah, they have Varus, they have Talia, they have Ornn against a Cog and an Alistar. Usually you have Braum to block stuff, but Alistar 0 map mobility, or excuse me, Kog'Maw no mobility, so Ornn can just keep ulting. You have the Talia come down, you have Sejuani, and you kind of camp that bot lane because you expect them to focus on the top side, but it's not really how things played out when the actual gameplay started.
No, not at all. We saw some aggression out of the 100 Thieves bot lane pretty early on. Afromu on the Alistar, forever the playmaker, and so we saw some aggression out of him here pretty early with the Flash Pulverize.
And this is because 100 Thieves identified what TSM was going to try and do, and I do think TSM was up too far here, but it was just played beautifully by Afromu and the rest of 100 Thieves. TSM had actually taken both Scuttle Crabs early on, so they felt confident being up there, and that's why 100 ganked through the lanes.
Yeah, and TSM was trying to play to this win condition. This is right after Mike Young ganked down there and forced the flash out of Cody. They want to keep the pressure up, but this time 100 Thieves answer it with their global coming in first, and so both teams basically ended up neutralizing what their favored win conditions were, and you end up in this mid-game where for 15 minutes we didn't have any kills because nothing was going on.
I was about to say, so what's the approach for a team then that finds themselves winning where they don't expect to and losing where they don't expect to on the map? I mean, it kind of makes sense then that all of a sudden both teams felt like they didn't know exactly where to go for the next 15 minutes of the game.
Agreed. You got to make sure you're not overcommitting on a team fight, and you also got to have clear plans for team fights. And we were kind of talking just from the total team composition. The Ornn ultimate with the GP ultimate neutralizes Cody's son, because he's now going to be sitting in a GP ult after the Ornn ult and never really able to enter the fight. So just because they can zone out the Kog'Maw that easily, TSM started focusing Aphromoo in the front line for free because the enemy DPS was neutralized and their DPS was not.
It's a weird situation just because usually when you see Kog'Maw, you want some kind of support for him, but a TF, J4, Vlad, and Alistar don't do anything to help enable the Kog'Maw. They want to dive the backline, but like Jat said, that Ornn GP ult completely neutralizes it. So they tried to force some plays in the side lanes. Those weren't working. Then they try and brute force them in the middle, and it finally gets turned by the side of TSM, who had been doing a good job, just kind of like, this is just kind of like fire and forget. Yeah. They just kept Ornn ulting in the mid lane.
But you can see in that fight, the GP ultimate and the Ornn ult all shot past Cody's son. He hasn't hit anyone in that fight. Once the jungler is dead, TSM pounces onto the Baron and just continued to kind of run this play. And 100 Thieves knows that they kind of needed the Baron in the 1-3-1 to have a win in this game, so they try an all-out fight, but it is 5v4, and it does not work.
It's kind of interesting, too, because when you look at these compositions, the thing that's striking for me on the side of TSM is that they have non-committal engage, right? Sejuani can fish for the ultimate. Ornn can fish for the ultimate. Varus can throw the ultimate out. Whereas on the other side, Vladimir, if he wants to do damage, has to be in there. Jarvan, if he wants to lock you down, CC or anything like that, has to get in there. And so there's a little bit more of commitment involved when 100 Thieves wants to take a fight.
And that's why getting ahead with the Vladimir and the J4 and the TF is so important, because if you go for a hard commitment but you're way ahead, it's suddenly much easier to win that fight. If you're doing it from a neutral position, which they kind of were in this game, and your
execution's got to be on point.
It's got to be perfect because you're, like we said, your Kog'Maw late game insurance is just getting zoned out every fight.
Can we talk about Hanser's GP though? Yes. Can we just full stop talk about this guy on the champion?
He's been unreal good on this pick. So we see a lot of priority picking of GP kind of all over the world because it's a powerful pick. But you're expected to lose lane with it and then carry later. Every player that we've found in the LMS, the LCK, NA, or EU that has played it more than once loses on average with their CSD at 15, except for Hanser. He has a positive CSD for 15, and he's getting counterpicked. He's up against Vladimir. We've seen Vladimir smash that matchup.
Right.
He bullied Anar with the GP. He has been extremely good at laning on this pick.
And it's not like it's against dud top laners. Someday being an example of
this
one
was
of the
the most
he's got to navigate.
Right, you see Huni going for a very similar strategy where it's like, take me GP blind, I'll play into anybody. And he falls behind sometimes, usually within an acceptable range, sometimes a little more.
Right.
But with Hanser, he's just never down. And it's so strong. He has the gold generation. This time, he also took the Relic Shield for the extra gold generation.
Yeah.
And that puts him way ahead of Vladimir at 15, even though the CSD is equal, the gold is not.
Final question here on TSM. Was this a quality win? Is this the first win TSM can start to feel good about the direction of their season?
I think you started to see things going right even in week 2. That Echo Fox loss was still one that you can look at as a pretty good start to improving. And then this is, like you said, the first good win. You're beating a playoff team. You did it in a convincing fashion. There wasn't like any clear mistakes. 100 Thieves made some good plays, and that's going to happen against good teams. But there was nothing that TSM necessarily was like, oh, why did they do that?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, there you have it. A solid win for TSM, moving to 500. Up next, the Golden Guardians take on Team Liquid. Meet us back here for Game 3 after the break.
I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell. Gonna go for a dare. Flash, pulverized, headbutts in, Sven ignites him as well. Does he have a way out? He's gonna get stunned up on top of that one. There's a flagger deck. First blood goes over to Kog'Maw.
Careful, Mike.
I'm running.
Nice. Close the target, close the target. We still win. Are they missing shots still?
Back off now. Just slowly, okay?
Kill.
Yeah, but play to back. That's good.
Take it slow. Play together. Tally, don't flash.
18.
Back. Don't die.
There's Cody's sign actually slowed down and shut out. He's by himself and he pops 2 kills already to Hanser. And TSM gonna just walk it down the bottom lane.
All of 100 Thieves?
What?
What are they doing?
Ryu, why show up there? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's 3v5, a triple kill now for Hanser. This is TSM walking it in. They'll improve to 3-3. 100 Thieves will be handed their second loss. And This is the week of TSM. You gotta believe it. A 2-0 week for the squad. TSM!